Hello, welcome to a Friday Business News Report. It's now time to bring you our feature on the show today. But first, we're going to look at the highlights of trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange on Thursday, as lower trades have continued to show in many sectors of the stock market following persistent pressure on prices. Efinge Cobb has the details. Discuss this and much more. I have with me stockbroker and stock market analyst joining me virtually now to discuss this and much more. I have Vincent Oshomah. Vincent, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning, Vincent. Now, let's start off with an analysis of the play out we saw in terms of the volume and value of trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange in the month of October. So many were optimistic we would likely see the same play out for the month of November. However, we've started off a little bit bearish and then we've had that upward downward trend, not necessarily replicating the upward trajectory we saw last month as the bulls had the day mostly. What's your take on all of these and the fundamentals feel in this?
Yes, last month we saw a bullish trend in the market and a lot of positive investor sentiment. We can attribute that to the fact that the 9 months Q3 reports of most listed companies were released last month. The last day to release those reports were 31st of October. So a lot of persons were taking position based on their expectations from those companies. But after the release of those results in November, we have not seen such a positive sentiment because like we saw the reports pushing the market, we have not seen the catalyst pushing the market this time. So we can understand for the low volumes we are seeing currently, we are experiencing the market in the last few days.
Trading now, we saw a surprise there. Looking at Jaiz Bank is one of the top traders for the day. According to some, this is just a one-off, but the banking sector so far have proved quite strong and robust and been the favorite of investors here in the country. Do you see us also sustaining this as we are wrapping up the year 2021 and even going to 2022? Banking sector stocks have always been favorable, wouldn't you say?
Yes, the banking sectors, being the major players in the market, do remain favorable when it comes to investors' picks because they are the majors. Our market is largely driven by the financial service sector. So a lot of persons have those sentiments towards the bank, especially the banking sector stock, especially for the tier 1 bank stocks. And also based on their performance, their 9 months report, most of them are doing very well. They at least exceeded expectations. So I think that they continue to remain the preferred picks for most investors. But for now, I think there's been some, you can see some of them, they have lost, their price have gone down for this month, like I said, due to the absence of any major catalyst to move the market. But before, I think as we approach the end of the year, some persons will start taking position, looking at the end of year report, when the lot of persons will be looking at their portfolio, balancing their portfolio, and also taking position against expectation for next year when the earnings season starts in earnest.
And are you also one of those who believe that at this point in time, what we're seeing playing out in the market in terms of the lower margins or the bears having the day is not necessarily a worry? Are you one of those who think of that as well and will likely still end the year strong in terms of bullish trades taking over back on track?
Looking at what has happened, especially what happened in the month of October, I think the market will end and we are going to end the year positive. It depends on what happens between now and the end of the year, because before now we are coming from a negative year-to-date return, and now we are currently at above 7.5 year-to-date return, which is good for the market. But so I believe the market will end the year strong. But it also depends on investors' picks because companies may react differently to the market. A good example is what happened in the telecom sector, where a release by the CBN, the approval in principle that was given to the major telecom operators to operate payment banks. I think it actually led to a bullish run on the price of both MTN and Airtel. And so we can say if we have such catalysts in the market, I think it will move sentiment towards some stocks. But in the absence of that, the market may just be flat here towards the end of the year, where we see investors and portfolio traders rebalancing their portfolios.
I also like to take you on the catalyst, which you made mention of. We're also expecting MTN to also release into the market now new shares that we could all purchase. Let's look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Apart from the listing we've had in terms of the NGX on the list, now let's also look at the performance of, take for example, Ghana Stock Exchange. The telecommunication sector there is also gradually moving higher. That has been the stock really holding the weight over their fourth. We look at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, we look at Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and a whole lot more. How would you say the Nigerian Exchange Group is still mimicking that robust size and then favorable transaction as compared to these other stock exchanges that we have?
Yes, especially when you look at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange with respect to the economy, because it is said that the stock exchange mirrors the larger economy. But in an old case, we have not seen the size of our stock exchange relative to our economy cannot be compared to what is obtained in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So the stakeholders are looking at opportunities for more listing, which will help build the market and also deepen trading in that market. Also looking at the fact that in some other exchange, we have seen the telecom sector represent quite a sizable size of the market, unlike in Nigeria. But last year, we have seen the listing of MTN, also the listing of Airtel, be improving the size of the telecom companies in the market. Also, they have also become dominant players in the market in terms of their capitalization. So we expect to see more of this beyond the telecom sector, also the other sectors coming into the market, like the energy distribution company, power distribution company coming in. I think this will help deepen our market, improve trading in our market. But so far, so good, I think that's been. And also the MTN thinking of increasing their listing, selling some stake, I think it will also attract interest in the market. MTN is a dominant player, not just in the market, in the Nigerian economy. So offering their shares to the public, I think this will attract more attention and bring more investors to the market, which is good for our market.
And for investors sitting on the fence now, let's talk about havens. Gold still remains one of the biggest commodities players in the market as well. We're not necessarily seeing Nigeria put forth a very strong portfolio in terms of commodities, minerals, food products, and a whole lot more. How do you see things also taking shape there? And for investors who are looking to invest in the commodity market, how do you see things turning out?
Yes, the commodity market is a very good space for investors to put in their money, especially when you look at it compared to what is happening in other sectors. I think it's something people should look at, because the one thing, the commodity, we have different areas. You can look at the agricultural commodity, the soft commodity, which is very good, especially looking at what is happening in the commodity space in Nigeria. I think is one area Nigerians needs to look at. Also, you mentioned gold. Gold is one area because gold has remained a safe haven for people, especially when you are looking at the naira compared to if naira in the forex market. So with the challenges that is happening, people can always use that to hedge their portfolio. Also, in looking at and having their investment in foreign exchange, it's a good form of hedging for a lot of investors, especially in Nigeria, to hedge their portfolio against losses that comes with the erosion of the value of the naira.
And now, lastly, before I let you go, Vincent, let's also look at the trading that we are also seeing in terms of the overall stock market. What's your forecast that you think we'll likely see play out come 2022? Looking at the volume and value of transactions, some say, well, we're still inching gradually going back to the pre-COVID levels when we had 10 billion and a whole lot more. Now we're just at about 6 billion, thereabout. What's your thought on all of these?
Yeah, I can say things are getting better because we have seen more reopening, and also looking at our economy, looking at the figures that are being released, I think things are getting better. Companies, in terms of their 9 months performance, when you look at the companies' 9 months compared to last year, they are actually doing better. Though there are some macroeconomic headwinds that are still with us, but a lot of these companies have been able to ride that wind and also make decent results despite the challenges in the environment and also the inflation. I think they have been able to ride those wings and post decent profit, which Nigerians, which investors can take advantage of. And going into 2022, I think with more reopening and also with the current price of oil, which is a major earner for the government, I think things are getting better and things are getting more stable, which will attract investors. But they are also concerned because as we get deeper into 2022, we get closer to the election. So what is happening in the political space will also be an angle that can affect the market. And also another thing that is also affecting the market, but I think there being some stability, is what is happening in the foreign exchange market. But with what the Naira has remained relatively stable, even in the parallel market, we have seen the Naira showing some strength in that space. I think that is positive for investors, and also we can see what happens. So I think things are getting better, despite the macroeconomic headwinds that are still very much with us.
And still looking at 2022, do you still see us having oversubscription like we've seen in terms of federal government bonds?
Yes, I think the bond space continue to attract attention, especially what is happening. It depends on, because last year we saw a lot of persons pulling out of the fixed income space because of the rates, but gradually we have seen the rates coming up, and so a lot of persons are returning to that. It depends on what happened with respect to rates, but I don't think much we'll see what we saw last year, where rates were very low and people ran to the equity market for more for their investment. So I don't see that happen. We can see, I think we should be able to have some stable rates in the market. Currently, we are seeing one-year TB at 6 point something. I think is far above what we saw last year when we recorded some negative rates. So I think there is more stability in that space.
Thank you very much for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning, Vincent Oshomah. We definitely also key into this optimism and can't wait to see how the market will close the year 2021 and see whether or not we are going to make good of the prospect we have for the year 2022. Thank you once again.
Thanks for having me.